One of the first things a lot of people think when they first learn that I've had roughly 75 fillings done is, where do you even have room to put them all? Well, I don't need to fit them all, since a lot of them are just ones that had to be replaced or redone. And additionally, it seems the thing about cavities is the more you have, the more you'll get. Which is why I'm now going to address two important questions. First off is, why does having a lot of cavities make you a high-risk caries patient? In other words, someone who is at risk for getting more cavities. And how the heck can you get a cavity under a filling? Now, if you happen to be unfortunate enough to find yourself with a cavity under an existing filling, it probably happened as a result of one of the following situations. Now, the first is a pretty obvious answer. When the dentist was drilling out the cavity, he or she didn't get it all, or missed a little bit that should have been drilled. Then, after the filling is placed, the cavity underneath is still growing. And if you find out you're having cavities under relatively new silver fillings, and this is happening multiple times, then I do suggest switching dentists, because odds are that your dentist isn't that great if he or she is likely not doing a good drill job. But, keep in mind that no fillings truly last forever, and I would say ignore this advice if the silver, also known as amalgam filling, is at the absolute least 10 years old. Now, why am I saying this advice for silver or amalgam fillings only? That's because white fillings with cavities underneath or alongside them are less likely to be solely the dentist's fault from a bad drill job. Just another reason why white, also known as composite resin fillings, are in the majority of situations the poor filling choice is because of their lovely ability to sometimes get new cavities under or alongside them. It all stems from one of the biggest problems with composite resin fillings, the fact that they easily expand and contract in temperature changes due to the material that they're made of, which is mostly plastic mixed with some glass particles. Now, this is the same reason why large white composite fillings often cause pain or discomfort when exposed to temperature changes. For some people, this can mean that they can't eat hot and cold things together. For me, I've found that those really big white fillings that I have in the back, which I probably shouldn't have, hurt during the winter, which is always fun. Now, how does this expanding and contracting result in cavities under or alongside the existing white composite resin fillings? It's pretty simple, really, and it all starts with the filling being put in. Now, composite fillings, they need to be applied layer by layer. If they weren't, or if the layers are too big, the filling risks not drying and hardening all the way through when they dry it with that light stick thing that they put into your mouth. Now, that process is called curing, and that light stick thing that they put in is called the cure. Now, the cure uses light to basically heat up the filling and harden it, much like when you put clay in the oven and you harden that. After the layer of filling is then applied and cured, the layer then contracts or shrinks a little bit due to the heat or the cure being removed, and the filling material is quickly cooling down. So the bigger layers, they're going to shrink way more when cooling off. So all white fillings shrink a little bit when they're made, but if the dentist makes the layers just a little bit too big, it becomes very easy for the new cavity to form in the small gap between the tooth and the filling, since acid, the substance that breaks down enamel and causes cavities, becomes trapped inside these invisible to the eye gaps that are between the filling material and the tooth. And certain types of bacteria in your mouth that create acid can also thrive in these small nooks and crannies that your toothbrush can't reach. And it's very frustrating finding out that you have a tooth that you just had filled and it now needs a new filling put in the same exact spot. I have some teeth that have actually been filled like 5 times now, and I'll tell you that those teeth, they're almost always white composite resin fillings, opposed to the silver amalgam ones, which I've rarely had problems with. And just a little throw-in fact, the composite resin, or white, fillings typically have about half the life expectancy of the amalgam or silver fillings. Composites will last up to around 15 years, give or take, if all goes well, whereas amalgam will last up to around 30-ish years, give or take, in the same conditions. Now, this is mainly because the amalgam fillings are far more durable than composite resin fillings and can also better withstand the force of chewing. So, basically, they're meant for the back. And in most cases, with a few exceptions, it is much better to go with silver fillings in the molars in the back teeth. But there are some exceptions which won't be covered here. But being labeled for high-risk caries doesn't just mean that you're more likely to need replacement fillings on existing work done. Having cavities at all also raises your chances for getting completely new cavities elsewhere, either on a different part of the same tooth or somewhere else in your mouth. Now, if you have unfilled cavities in your teeth, it is quite likely that you have an excess amount of plaque in the cavity area. Now, plaque is just a large colony of bacteria and the acid that those bacteria have been producing. And due to this excess of acidic substance, the pH level of your whole mouth is often lowered. And that just means that your mouth is now more acidic, and acid is the one and only thing that can and will destroy the tooth itself. Now, this makes it more likely for you to get cavities anywhere else in your mouth. And I strongly recommend using baking soda and anything with fluoride in it every time you brush if you have an unfilled cavity, especially for people like you're in a situation where you can't see the dentist anytime soon. However, this decreased pH level brought on by unfilled cavities and plaque buildup doesn't increase your chance for developing more cavities as much as drilling a tooth does. On the plus side, though, drilling only increases your chance of developing more cavities on the same tooth, as opposed to a lowered pH level inside your mouth, which will affect all of your teeth, putting them all at a higher risk. Now, how does drilling a tooth put a greater risk of getting another cavity on the same tooth? It can be explained by the same concept as to why it's better for you to, if a bullet goes all the way through you, instead of stopping somewhere in the middle if you happen to get shot. Now, it's all about impact. The impact of the drill on the tooth structurally damages the tooth on a molecular level. When a tooth is being drilled, it has to absorb all the shock from the drill, which makes it less stable in a way that will allow acid to much more easily penetrate and break down the tooth. Now, because amalgam or silver fillings require more drilling and typically larger drills than composite resin, white fillings, teeth with existing amalgam fillings are more prone to getting another cavity on them somewhere other than where the existing filling is than the composite fillings. However, don't forget that if you're getting cavity filled by drilling, no matter the filling type, the tooth will be somewhat affected by the impact because all types will involve a drill when you're filling it with a drill. And I really don't know enough about laser fillings at this time to add too much input on them. But one thing I can say for sure is that any filling that you're having done by a laser must be composite resin, and because there are no other filling options for that procedure. But I'm not really going to touch on that. So just another way to prevent cavities is not to get any in the first place. Also, please know that any dentist that believes that composite resin fillings do not expand or contract is incorrect and possibly inexperience. I'm not saying that you should stop seeing a dentist that doesn't know this, but just keep in mind that it's not often I've found a dentist that didn't know this or believed otherwise. That's a pretty basic thing. So just please make smart decisions and let those decisions be your own to make. Thanks for listening.